believe it. I looked it up with Dale this morning at breakfast. There are 7 states that have DeKalb counties. So there's 7 of you that could wear this hat proudly in your state and say, yeah. So who wants the DeKalb County hat? There you go. This hat that I have on today, I chose to wear this instead of my DeKalb County hat, because this is the favorite hat that I have. And it's because it's the favorite name that I've ever been called. And that's Papa. And I have 5 grandkids, and my staff can tell you that they're the world to me. And I sound bad about it. Anyway, they're just the world to me. And I'm so grateful that God's allowed me to be on earth long enough to enjoy them. So if you ever want to hear that story, that's a whole other story. When I first came to the Y, I didn't have very, very long to live, and God healed me, and I'm here 13 years later. So, how to build healthy spirit in your Y from a CEO perspective. So the first thing I got to tell you is I had a, kind of a open book to do whatever I wanted to do when I was hired as a CEO at RY, because they hired me to do that. They said, our board did that. But I'm not that smart, so I just kind of followed along, let God do a bunch of stuff, and then afterwards he kind of revealed to me what he had been doing. And so that's what this talk is kind of based on, is what God did in RY. And I was just kind of there to help him do that. And afterwards I go, oh man, God, you did, I see what you did there. And so sometimes that's how I learn, and most of the time, because I'm not good enough to think of it ahead of time like Josh does. But the first thing I would say is get your board on board. I mean, it's so critical that you get some level of board engagement in the Christian mission. If you don't, it's going to be a long uphill battle. And we've had some conversations today with that. But build board champions for the Christian mission. So we have a couple of those here today. Raise your hands. They're Christian mission champions in their Y, board members. And so get at least one, start with one. Find one Christian on your board that you can say, will you partner with me in trying to bring the C back into our Y? So, however much they're willing to, because when you get that peer, and you're not just the staff person or the chaplain or the CEO trying to promote that, and you have a board peer promoting that, it's a whole different ballgame. So fortunately I had about 4 or 5 of those, even though our whole board is unanimously for the Christian mission. I have about 4 or 5 of them that have been recruited, and they promote that tirelessly, and they actually call each other guardians of the Christian mission. And so that's out of the book, Mission Drift. I'll talk about that in a second. So recruit for that mission. Recruit board members that are Christian. There are great Christian leaders with money, influence, power in every community across the country. Try to recruit some of those folks. And when I was talking to Melissa, Megan, we talked last year, but we talked again this year. Sometimes you're not the CEO, and that's not necessarily your position, but know that all of us are desperately looking for really good board members all the time. You're always looking for a good board member. And so if you can gently, after you recruit that person and kind of subversively find out that they want to promote Christ in your Y, try to promote that person to your CEO or a board member that you might know and say, hey, I know this person, I think they'd be a really great board member, and they run this company or whatever, they own this, and you'll be able to try and influence your board to recruit people that have that. In our Y, we actually have a statement of faith. Our board members, in order to come on our Y, they have to sign a statement of faith. And it's basically Apostles' Creed, the 13 basic principles of the faith. And so we know that everyone that's coming on our board is not just a Christian, but perhaps in your Y, you could at least make sure that people coming on your board is a person of peace. And a lot of you guys have heard people talk about at least finding someone that's a person of peace. And we do that with our leadership team too. We try to hire, if they're not a Christian, they're at least a person of peace, a person that is open to the Christian ideals, open to learning about God. They're not adverse to that. So maybe you could at least recruit board members that are that way. The third one is train in them in the Christian mission. The first thing we did about 10 years ago is our board took it upon themselves to do a book study on Mission Drift. The book Mission Drift by Peter Greer, great book, talks a lot about the why, not necessarily good, but it talks a lot about how to keep your mission true for many, many years and decades. And so we did that book study, and that's what really turned around the rest of our board members, because they realized, wow, we are the guardians of the mission. This isn't going to happen unless we take the lead, because CEOs are going to come and go, staff are going to come and go, but the board is what really creates the longevity of the organization. So Lead on Mission is another book. Becca, can't think of her last name, it's a brand new book called Lead on Mission. Has a workbook with it. We're starting that as a book study with our board right now, so I encourage you to do that. The Reason Why videos, if you haven't shown those at your board meetings, those are great mini 3-minute or so videos of what David talked about the other night. Great, awesome. And if this barcode will take you to those, you can either go to reasonwhy.org or you can go to the City Movement, and they have those videos there. But they're great short mission trips that tell the exact same story that David told us the other night. The other thing, sorry, I'm a little bit diabetic, so I get thirsty. The other thing is have David come and speak to your board, and he came to ours and did our strategic planning retreat and talked about the Christian mission, the C and the Y. Man, it was awesome. I mean, people were board members that maybe they're Christians, but they were kind of like not on fire for it. They left that thinking, oh man, that was fantastic. I didn't know all that stuff about the Y. So, and he'll go, you pay for him to fly, and pay for, give him a little bit of cash in his pocket, he'll come. Don't have him come for free. Make sure you take care of him and his wife, and family. Then the other thing, the fourth thing is plan in the Christian mission. Plan in the Christian mission into your board meetings and board staff retreats, those kind of things. Make sure your stories, your mission moments that you're talking about, we talked about this a little bit the other day in our breakout, that those stories, we talked about stories of weight loss and those kind of things, child care, those kinds of things, but tell stories about transformed lives. So if you start to tell those kinds of stories, even in a board that isn't necessarily really truly open to the Christian mission, they're going to say, wow, that's amazing. This person is transformed. They're a new person. They're gone through rehab or something and they become a Christian. They will really respond to that. Put it in your reports. We're working on this right now. It's kind of a difficult thing to measure Christian mission, but part of that is tracking those stories. So our Christian mission director is setting up a plan to track all of those stories and to document them and to promote those out in our annual report. We track in our annual report how many baptisms are in a pool. I think we had 48 last year because we partnered with some Christian organizations that need a place to do baptisms. We track how many church partners we have. We track how many Bible studies happen at the Y. Those kind of things. Classes that are spiritually inclined. But I do have to admit, it's been easy for us because our board was 100% for that. They hired me because I had been in Youth for Christ for 20 years and doing evangelism in that same community, and everybody knew that, and they wanted that. So it's not necessarily going to be easy for all of you, but it's critical that you start somewhere. You can be doing the other stuff that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but you've got to start cultivating that board, and it may take 10 years, but God's timing is different than our timing. We want things like this. Our society is like that. If you look at the history of God, sometimes he takes 100 years to move in an organization. So start the board, even though it's hard. Start with that. When I started 13 years ago at the Y, I was all about the transformational proclamation, like our proclamation transformation. Proclamational. I'm not sure proclamational is a word because it gives me a spell check. Proclamational transformation. That's why I thought, okay, we got to put up verses in our Y. We have some nice signage that's kind of gone around the country because we designed it. And then we have scripture in our waiting room, different places, but it's designed in kind of a cool way that you just kind of see the keywords first, and then you have to look and you see the whole verse. We did a lot of it, kind of Christian music, all those kinds of things. And I thought, man, that's what we got to do. And it's good. I think if your community, your Y, your CEO will let you do that, that's great stuff. So we did the signage. We have a mission statement on the wall. Our mission statement is a little different. I think Luke shared it the other day. It's building relationships to connect people to Christ. So it's short, sweet. Staff people can learn it. And it's very direct. But that's what we're about. So we have that on the wall. Healthy Spirit Resources. We have 3 places in our Y. This is Healthy Spirit, real big. And under that are Bibles and those June Hunt books that I talked about in our breakout the other day. There's June Hunt topical books that are on grief, verbal abuse, marriage, every kind of topic you can think of that people would come in with their own baggage in their life and want to grab that off. We go through those like crazy. Luke has to email me about every week. Hey, it's another $500 this month to buy these June Hunt books. And fortunately, we have a donor that pays for all the Bibles, all the June Hunt books that we want to buy. You can find that donor in your community as well. And the people just take those. We know that some are going home and just sitting on coffee tables, but at the right time, God will use that into somebody's life on that coffee table. Spiritual taglines. We have a lot of them in our Y. The biggest one, and you'll see it on our bus later today when it pulls up here to pick up people to the word, is love God, love others. Greatest commandment condensed down to 4 words. Real, non-threatening. I mean, it's hard for people to argue with that. Love God, love others. That's hard to argue with, especially in the culture today that we're in right now. You're not pointing any judgment. You're just saying, love God, love others. And we have window stickers, which right here we have bumper, or, magnets. It's on the back of every business card that one of our staff. It's on the back of every guest pass. And so it's just that have some of those kind of mantras in your why. Love, care, and serve is what Josh uses. I love that. We've used that a few times, but have those Christian mantras going on in your life. Who was a window sticker? Anybody want to love God, love others? Window sticker? Sorry, I saw this person first.
He doesn't want to walk all the way over there.
That's too far away from the mic. It's the truth. God, I have to get my bike to come over there. Church partner involvement programs. That's another way you can do proclamational transformation, is to have others come and be a part of that proclamation. They're the ones doing it, so it kind of is a little easier for your CEO or board to accept because the church is coming in. Time-wise already?
Come on, Bobby.
We got like 3 more sections. So anyway, church partner programs. We have our church partners, somebody mentioned the other day, they do the prayer at all of our basketball games, different church, soccer, they coach our soccer teams and lead classes. Partner with other ministries to do ministry. We have FCA, we've had 2 or 3 rescue missions that do a lot of work in our Y. And let them do that proclamational stuff if your Y is afraid, your leadership is afraid to do that. Build mission-driven traditions. Start all your meetings with prayer. If you can get that done. Make mission moments spiritual or impact stories. Talked about that before. Mission statement reading. It's kind of an odd thing, but it's out of the book. Mission driven. We actually read our mission statement a lot of our staff meetings, but every board meeting. It's read by the board members out loud. It's kind of awkward, but it's really good. Include spiritual verbiage in policies and forms. So we even have in our job application, it says, the YMCA is a Christian mission or Christian ministry. This is our mission statement. What do you think you can, add to that? Why work here? Why would you want to work here? And so it's just interesting to get people to have that sense right from their starting to apply as a high school kid or whatever, to realize that they're going to work for a ministry and to think about that. But the last 6 years, I kind of shifted from that proclamational transformation to cultural transformation. And that is, we really started to focus on more of the spiritual life of our staff. And I really think that's what builds a healthy spirit and a healthy culture in your life. Hire staff who love Jesus, or they're at least people of peace. They're people that are going to be okay with the gospel being presented in your life. Focus on building staff spiritual health. You spend the money to bring them here. I was so excited to see you guys bring 6 people from 2 people last year. It was awesome. Teach Christian mission principles to all staff. A lot of different Ys have talked about that, and not just staff meetings, but proclaiming that without your Y. Spiritual retreat days. We do about 4 of them a year, where we take our leadership team and we go do something that's just to build their spirit. Sometimes it's more fun stuff, and sometimes it's a serious retreat time where we're praying and doing small groups and taking some alone time with God. Encourage staff in every department to participate in the Christian mission, and prayer after school time, Bible stories that you're really learning, prayer before and after classes, holy yoga. The ultimate goal is to create a space in your community that every Christian knows it's a safe space to talk about your faith. And I feel like we're finally there. After 13 years, we're finally at a place where everybody in our community, everybody in our county knows that the YMCA is that space, is that place that you can go and talk about Christ. It is not only saved, it's encouraged, it's wanted, and we want them to do that. So I got a picture right here. Can you guys put that picture up? This is my last thing, Josh. No, I promise. So you can see I saw this on my Facebook feed, and this is Rev and Chappie, the older couple there. They have another whole story I can tell you later, but Rev and Chappie do a class, Silver Seeker class at our Y. They always lead it out with scripture and prayer before every class. And they had this younger gal that came, and she's Japanese, Mitsuko. And I saw this post, I thought, oh great, they led somebody else to Christ, because it's not unusual for Rev and Chappie, Paul and Sharon, because we call them Reverend and Chaplain, to lead people to Christ. That's kind of just who they are. They're exuberant about Jesus every day. Well, then when I read that, a little closer, I asked him, I saw him that day, God, I mean, literally I don't see him every day, but saw him right after I saw that on my phone. I said, so this gal accepted Christ? And she goes, they said, yeah, she accepted Christ about 6-8 months ago. She started coming to the Y. She's from Japan, couldn't speak English very well, didn't have any friends, came to the Y to make friends and to work on her English. And so they kind of just wrapped their arms around her, the way they love people. And as they were talking about English, she asked questions about the scriptures that they were reading. She didn't really understand the concept of sin, so they had to explain that to her. And she accepted Christ right there in front of the front desk at a little table, prayed and received Christ. But the interesting thing, the reason this was up on Facebook is because about 4 months ago, she contracted a real severe case of cancer, and she died about a month ago. That's why this was on my feed. And to think that our Y is a place where somebody can come to connect, come to learn a language, but they find eternity. They find a relationship with Jesus for eternity. So I think if we can create that space, if we create that place, Chris Johnson said yesterday, kind of like that fertile soil or that fertile garden in your Y, that ministry can happen, Christians can come and minister to other people. That's a healthy spirit.
Amen.
Yeah.